There are a lot of movies that we loved growing up, some that have held up great and are as good as we remember them, some have their flaws and we see them now but we still have fun with them. But then there are those movies that you watched as a kid but is absolutely terrible now that you are an adult. Either you loved IT as a kid and now see it's a bad film, or you always hated IT but your mind wasn't complex enough to realize you hated IT. We all have those kinds of movies. But what is that movie for me? That's right, I hate Ice Age. Not the sequels, not the spin-offs. I mean the original beloved classic film Ice Age. Why do I hate IT, you might ask? Well, let's dive into this monstrosity and find out. Number 1, the story. Let's see if this sounds familiar. A grump saves the life of an annoying animal. WHO then decides to tag along and annoy the main character and constantly gets told to fuck off. They later encounter a character they have to help get from point A to point B, and they go on a life-changing journey that brings the characters close together to where they form an unlikely bond, which later causes some conflicts with our main characters that leads to a climax where they have to stop the villain, and it ends with them winning the day and living happily ever after. In case you couldn't tell, the story has a lot of the same elements of a film that came out the year prior, which happens to be my favorite film of all time, Shrek. Now I realize they didn't completely retread Shrek, as there are very obvious differences with there not being a love interest in the movie and some of the story beats being different. But the similarities are still there, and it's hard not to think of Shrek when watching this movie. Number 2, What the fuck is that? The animation is nightmare fuel. It baffles me to this day how people can look at this animation and not get traumatized by the animals mainly sit and scratch staring into your very soul. The textures of the backgrounds such as the ice and rocks look unfinished, and the character animation is very stiff and creepy. I know this was 2002 and computer animation wasn't mastered yet, but come on, they didn't need to look this creepy. These maids scared me as a child, and they still creep me out to this day. Shrek, which came out a year before this, looks far better than this movie. Fuck, both Ants and Toy Story look 1,000 times less creepy than this. Ohio man, just get away from me. Ugh. Number 3, and this is the biggest reason for me. It's way too cruel and dark. Besides a few scenes, it doesn't feel pleasant or heartwarming, because the characters are total assholes to each other in this movie, and I know that's part of the character arc. But they too mean to each other in this movie to the point they are all unlikable. It isn't until the end where these characters finally feel like friends and actually have endearing chemistry. Wish they could have had this for the rest of the movie. Overall, guys, I hate Ice Age. It is one of the most horrifying and marish animated films I have ever watched. It's almost as ugly as Food Fight. You heard that right, it's that creepy. If you like this movie, I respect your opinion, but I'm personally going to stay away from this horror of my childhood.